You join me from a beautiful, a stunning hotel room here in Munich. I'm in Munich just for a few days before traveling north for a family wedding. So this is just a bit of a treat for me. And while this room is incredible, it comes stocked with complimentary coffee. I think there's some wine in the corner there. There was a Holy Bible next to my bed. It didn't come with a fucking pen. I couldn't find a pen for the life of me. So I was going to take notes for this video, but I don't have a pen with me and they didn't give me one. So I'm going to have to ad-lib the entire thing. So if I make a mistake, deal with it. And that's just what we have today. But today we're going to be talking about Dazzler. And the context I want to talk about Dazzler in is that of the final evolution of the prowess-based mutant. So prowess really has been the core mechanic for basically all mutants up until Onslaught, and now the development of prowess as a mechanic has basically been stopped, and we've been very starkly reminded of this with the release of Yelena Belova. Yelena Belova basically comes in and says, nope, no more prowess. No more prowess. We don't want you to have prowess. We want you to have daunted. And now all new mutants coming into the game are based around daunted. Obviously, we have the Captain Britain buff. We've had the Cyclops buff. These are both champions released in 2025 based around prowess. However, all of the new champions, all of the new mutants coming out in 2025, they're all based around daunted, right? So Kabam have done everything under the sun to develop the prowess mechanic, and they've done everything defensively to curb its influence in the tech class, right? Oh, that's basically it. And now we see Yelena Belova, and you can see that actually skill defenders are now saying, no more. So prowess is done. We're done with prowess. And Dazzler, I want to focus on her because she is the final step in maximizing the potential of this mechanic, and it's really interesting to see Dazzler as the culmination of all other mutant characters, right? And we're going to break this down step by step, and then we're actually going to talk a little bit about Yelena Belova later on. I'm going to give you a bit of a sneak peek for what's coming up soon on my channel. But right, so Dazzler, starting off with her awakened ability, she can both ignore but then reflect up to 200% of physical damage incoming, physical thorns damage incoming, and this is obviously pointed towards defenders like Korg, defenders like Atuma, defenders that have become pretty standard for all new mutants. They either have energy damage focus or they deal non-contact attacks. Right, that's it. So they all get around it somehow. However, Dazzler nicks utility from Namor, and not only does she nick the utility, she goes even further. So a max sig Namor will reflect all of the damage dealt to him back to the opponent when he attacks. However, Dazzler has exactly the same thing, but it's twice as potent. Twice as potent, which is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. But she also has this anti-evade utility. So there are, I mean, obviously plenty of prowess-based mutants who can deal with Bullseye, but she has something built into her kit that expressly deals with Bullseye, right? So she has that pursuit passive, same one as on Gentle. However, Gentle is obviously based around daunted. And then we just go even further, we just look into the rest of her kit. She's immune to Nullify. Immune to Nullify. Now, prowess can be passive. However, a lot of times it comes up as a buff. And if you want to have lots of special attack damage, you need lots of prowess, which means in a lot of cases, you need lots of buffs, which means that the mutant class is vulnerable to the mystic class, which it really shouldn't be. Think about the class wheel, the mutant class should be vulnerable to the tech class, not the mystic class, ideally. And this is ideal. This is ideal, the scenario we have here. We have the final evolution of design. So Dazzler is immune to Nullify, which is great. That's just fantastic. Another nice piece is that she only actually gains the prowess when you throw the special attack, which is something she's nicked from Sunspot, so you're less vulnerable to a champion like Infamous Iron Man or Nimrod, who are going to hurt you if you have this prowess and you just carry it around all the time. No, she only gains it during that special attack, which is nice. hence why I have to make her a horseman for this lane in 9.2. But then you have her special attack 1. So her special attack 1 applies an energy vulnerability to the opponent. Now, prowess is an effect on you. Daunted does exactly the same thing, but it's an effect on the opponent. It's a subtle difference. It, instead of increasing the attack that you deal, it increases the damage the opponent deals. The opponent is taking during special attacks, rather. So instead of increasing the damage you deal, it increases the damage the opponent takes. Exactly the same effect, just different mechanics doing the same job, right? And Dazzler is one of the few mutant characters who actually has both an effect on herself increasing the damage she deals and an effect on the opponent increasing the damage she deals. So she really is the bridge between prowess and daunted. So she can have the energy vulnerability, increase the damage taken by the opponent during her enormous energy burst on her SB2, but also gain the benefits of the prowess mechanic on the SB2, and you can just see that's just enormous damage. Obviously this lane is increasing her damage output quite a lot. We'll talk about, maybe I'll talk about that later. It's not really important, the lane. You know the lane in 9.2. You've all done it for exploration. I'm not really going to explain it. But the most important thing on Dazzler's kit, this is something that I think is unique to her, which is the guaranteed critical hit. Now, plenty of mutant champions have ways of increasing the chance they have to crit. They have precisions, or they can passively increase their crit rate. However, Dazzler, I believe, is the only one with a guaranteed critical hit. And what this does is it means you can guarantee to maximize the potential of that prowess mechanic in every single fight you do, right? So plenty of champions in this game deal so much damage via prowess when they crit. Champions like Bishop, champions like Storm, champions like Jubilee, champions like Emma Frost, they hit really, really hard. But if you don't crit, then your progress is halted. And things can go slightly sideways when you're relying on ending the fight quickly with a big SB2, and that just doesn't happen. However, with Dazzler, if you do her minigame correctly, you will have a guaranteed critical hit. And you can see here, like, while that SB2 wasn't actually doing an awful lot of damage, and maybe she was dealing damage in line with a champion like Emma Frost, or like Kitty Pryde on this sort of lane. I used Kitty Pryde for exploration. That was very, very tedious and cost me a couple of revives because I could not be asked. The final guaranteed hit at the end there meant that Kingpin was taken down to 33% health, and I can guarantee the next time I throw off a special attack, which is in a few seconds, that this is definitely going to kill him. You see, we chuck off the SB2. See, didn't kill. If the last bit didn't crit, we probably wouldn't have killed him. We might have killed him, we might not have, but we can guarantee that we kill him. That's what ends prowess, right? Prowess is an insanely powerful mechanic, but if you can guarantee the maximum potential of something, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. And that's what demands a champion like Yelena Belova, and that's what makes Dazzler so interesting. So interesting for me. And you could equally make this video about Cyclops, just as a champion coming in with prowess, and now Kabam are comfortable releasing a champion that can just do millions of damage per rotation because they know that Daunted is going to be the focus of their meta in the future. But it's easier to make content on champions you actually have, so I'm focusing on Dazzler. But that guaranteed critical hit, that's what does it for me. That's what allows Dazzler to do more than just be a mutant character. That's what allows Dazzler to plow through this lane against champions with class disadvantage, but also without class disadvantage, like this Joe Fixit. It's what allows her to do these fights well. It's what allows her to get through fights like Photon, because she doesn't use the dexterity mastery. It's what allows her to get through fights like Serpent in certain nodes in Alliance War. I'm sure you've seen Berryman use the fact that Dazzler does not get struck by attacks when she dashes back against Serpents in Alliance War, right? This is what allows her to step out of her role as a mutant character and just be an incredible character across the board, right? So prowess in its final form allows her to do more than just be your average mutant character. Now, I said I would talk about Yelena Belova. and I would give you a bit of a sneak peek at something that is coming up on my channel. Now, I said in my video on ranking the 2025 champions by how much they irritate me, that if y'all hit 200 likes, I would make a full 2025 design critique. Now, you guys absolutely smashed it. You hit well over 200 likes, and that was with me completely cocking up the release of that video. So I got involved in some copyright bullshit, and I had to re-upload the video, but I did it way too late, so I destroyed my own video's performance. However, despite that, thanks to you guys interacting, liking, commenting, everything, doing all the good stuff, we broke through the algorithm, and it's now performing very, very well. And I now have to write a feature-length piece on 2025 champion design, so thanks for that. But I do want to give you guys a bit of a sneak peek, and I want to talk a little bit about Yelena Belova. Now, Yelena Belova is not the worst defender we've ever seen, not by a long shot, pun intended. But what makes her bad is just the timing of release. Not only that she was released alongside a plethora of other very, very challenging defenders, which just means everything is so overwhelming, but when she was released, I believe it was only 4 champions in the game had access to Daunted, and one of them as a 7-star was locked behind a luck paywall, right? You could have gotten Deadpool X-Force out of the gacha box, or you couldn't have as a free-to-play. Depends. But it was Deadpool X-Force, Onslaught, Jean Grey, and Gentle. Right, that was it. So that's 4. I could be, there might be a 5th in there, but I'm fairly sure it was just 4, and I throw the SB2 directly into Mole Man's block, which is annoying, but gives me time to talk. But what I would have done if I was designing someone like Yelena Belova and I wanted to mark the end of the prowess mechanic, I would release an intermediary defender, right? So someone who both locks out champions that rely on prowess, and you can do that really easily, while enticing daunted-based defenders, or daunted-based attackers rather, and allowing champions that don't necessarily have daunted to have a say. Right, so this is essentially a warning shot. So Yelena Belova is Kabam showing up with a rifle and just putting a bullet in your head. Right, that's it, just saying, oi, daunted, bang. No, a warning shot. 1 to your thigh. Like, imagine I show up with a gun and I shoot you in the thigh and I say the next one's going to your head, right? That's what I would do if I was releasing Yelena Belova. So I would introduce something like a safeguard mechanic during special attacks. Right, and you can weave that in however you want with whatever bullshit excuse, and that locks out a champion like Dazzler. Right, you can't use Dazzler there. You can't use Cyclops there. You can't use Bishop. You can't use any massive damage-dealing, prowess-based champion for special attacks because I'm locking you out with a massive safeguard. However, you can reduce this safeguard with something like a Daunted, which would be cool, and also means that just ordinary champions with strong DOT or strong basic attacks can have their say, and it's just interesting to see how that could develop then into a future tech defender, well, not tech defender, future skill defender, and I would literally just copy-paste Yelena Belova's kit and put it in that one. So I think we just had the Daredevil Born Again show on Disney+. I'll be honest, I didn't watch it, I don't care. I got rid of Disney+ because Ironheart was so shit. And I would literally release some sort of buff for Daredevil, like Daredevil Born Again, and he can have fun animations and this, that, and the other. And I would literally just copy-paste the Yelena Belova kit onto his kit. Just delete Yelena and add Daredevil, and then you could have that. Once you've released Cassandra Nova, once you've released a couple, like one more Daunted character, and just really hammered home the point that this is gonna happen, and then you can get smart. Okay, now this side by side is really, really interesting, and you can see the rank 3 version of Dazzler out-punch in a straight damage match the rank 4 version of Jean Grey. When class advantage was removed, Jean Grey needed more time to finish that match. Dazzler, with a guaranteed critical hit, ensured that she got the maximum potential from her damage mechanics, and she ended the fight in less than 40 seconds. But Jean needed a little bit more time. Dazzler, the end of the mutant class, right? It's time to move on. And that is just about all I have for you today. If you have made it this far, then congratulations. You have an attention span greater than that of a goldfish. And go away.